Hello everyone, just want to do a quick intro video here for Geology 110, Environmental Geology, for the fall of 2023. And wanted to introduce myself and kind of go over how the course will be laid out, what it includes, and kind of my teaching style, and all that good stuff. So, my name is Jay Nelson. I'll be your professor this semester. On all the email and everything, you'll see my name is John, but I go by Jay. I'm from Glasgow, Kentucky, which is near Bowling Green if you're from another part of the state. I haven't looked at the roster yet. Typically, most of the students are from Sky here in South Central Kentucky, but sometimes we have students from across the state. And I have actually lived across the entire state of Kentucky from Ashland down here to Bowling Green. I'm originally from Glasgow, though, so I still live in my local area. And this semester, we're going to talk about geology, specifically environmental geology. Now, a couple things about me. One is I went to the University of Kentucky for my bachelor's degree. Got a degree in environmental science with an emphasis in geology. I went to Western Kentucky University for my master's degree and received my master's in geosciences, specifically for karst studies, which is, you're going to learn in detail this semester, the study of caves and underground water drainage in karst areas. So that's a little bit about my background. I've lived in Ashland, I've lived in Lexington, I've lived in Frankfort, I've lived in Bowling Green, Glasgow. Now I live in Allen County, which is the town of Scottsville. So I've lived in different places in Kentucky and know the state pretty well. So throughout this course, as we go through the course material, especially since this is a science-based course, I'm going to use a lot of examples from our local state. I'll talk a lot about karst, like I just said, the underground drainage of water through caves and springs and all that. We're going to learn a lot about that as we go forward. Much of Kentucky has some type of karst terrain in it. Not all, but most of it does. I won't only be focusing on karst, though. We're going to talk about other things. We're going to talk about earthquakes, which is really not a big thing in Kentucky. But the potential is there in far western Kentucky, out in the Purchase area around Paducah. We'll talk a lot about some of the environmental factors with regards to mining, eastern Kentucky. So we're going to hit coal mining, strip mining, and all those types of environmental issues that we're going to go over in the semester. I'll really focus them on here in Kentucky. We'll talk about other things. And full disclosure, so this is a general environmental geology course, and as I just explained to you what my background is, I don't know a lot about things like volcanoes. We're going to talk about volcanoes a little bit. After you study that chapter, you'll have a pretty good handle on volcanoes, about the same level as I do probably, because I just never studied those that much, and we don't live in a volcanic area. So when you hear me talk about something in more detail, I know it pretty well, and it really directly pertains to us here in Kentucky. We're not going to exclusively talk about Kentucky, but I just wanted to let you know that if there is something you're interested in maybe in your local area as we go through this course, wherever you are in the state, feel free to ask, and I can work that into a lecture or on one of our lessons. I'll be happy to talk about that. So, again, this is an environmental geology course, so geology is the study of the earth and its materials. That's the general broad picture of what geology is. Environmental geology deals specifically with kind of two parts of how we're going to look at this. On the front end, in the first part of the semester, we're going to be talking about the earth and its materials and how some of those materials benefit us. Now, those materials are very wide-ranging. Of course, we need the basics, land and water and air to breathe, to live, to drink, all that. So that's the very basic building blocks of life. So that's what we're going to start out talking about. But as we have evolved our technology as a species, we have started to use more and more from the earth with regards to the resources. And something that is kind of, common sense, kind of like, oh, duh, but that nobody really considers ever is every single thing that we have in our possession, that we use every day, that we do, all those materials come from the earth. And again, that's pretty common sense, but we really don't think about it, do we? When we're sitting there watching TV or playing on our cell phone, we don't think about what's really in that cell phone as far as materials. All that is mined. All those materials are mined from the earth. So geology is really important to our everyday lives, even though we might not realize that. So we're going to talk about those types of things, those resources. Toward the end of the semester, we're going to kind of transition. After we talk about all those resources and all the what I would call kind of basic geology, we're going to transition into the environmental part as we think about it. Typically, when we think environmental topics, we think about what humans are doing to the planet, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we affect the planet, both just as a simple species, like we were maybe a few thousand years ago, all the way up till now, where we're extracting enormous amounts of materials out of the earth and really damaging our own planet, affecting the climate, all those kind of things. So that's what this course is going to entail. I did notice some of you on the roster have taken my geography course before. I also teach geography if you haven't ever taken on geography courses. I will tell you right now up front, this course is going to be noticeably more difficult than that geography course was. This level of detail and this information is quite a bit more, and it's going to take a little bit better scientific understanding to kind of get some of this information. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be an expert in science, not by any means. However, you're going to have to concentrate just a little more to figure some of this stuff out. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you if you've had one of my courses before. Now, if you have had one of my courses before, for those of you that haven't, just to let you know up front, I'm a very fair person. I will work with you. I would love for everybody to get an A or B in this course. That's my goal during the semester. However, if you don't do the work and you don't put on the effort that I ask of you, then you probably are not going to get that A or B, especially in this course. Like I said, this course takes a little bit of dedication to get all the topics. We move through it pretty quickly. It's a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time, but my students did pretty well last semester when they applied themselves. So I just want everybody to know that communication is key with me. If you're having issues, if you're having problems, if you see in the syllabus that I give everybody 2 opportunities to have a week's worth of material turned in late, if you let me know, you have to tell me up front. You can't just like put it off for 2 months and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to use my 2 weeks. It doesn't work like that. You need to notify me up front. But if you have something that comes up, if you're having an issue, if you're going to be out of town, just let me know when we can work around that. But I want to caution you, don't make it a habit, because if you get too far behind in this course, it's going to be hard to catch up. Another thing I want to really emphasize here, and it's along the same lines with communication, not only those types of things, but in general, how you're doing with the assignments, and if you have any problems or technical issues. This course, if you've had a course in McGraw-Hill Connect before, I use McGraw-Hill Connect. So if you've already got an account in there, you're good. You can use that same account. You'll just link into this class. If you have not, once we get into the semester, I'll have in the Student Start Here section some how-to videos, and you'll have to create an account in Connect. And this course is paired through Blackboard to Connect. So all your assignments you'll see through Blackboard, but it's actually pairing it to Connect. So all the assignments are made in Connect. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It's not that difficult. And I chose that platform primarily for you. They have a really good support system. They have a 24-hour helpline you can call to get help. So they really have done a good job for me with helping out my students. But again, if you have problems, you need to let me know up front. The way that we as professors go into these courses and you see them are sometimes different. And if there's some type of issue in the beginning and I don't know about it, I might not necessarily see it through my end. And if you don't tell me about it, then I won't know, and you might be behind, or several people might be behind because there's some type of problem. So please reach out to me anytime there's an issue or a problem. I did have one student last year that had some type of technical issue with it, and they kind of struggled for a while. And to be quite honest, after the fact, I don't really know how much of an issue it really was versus this student just not really getting on it in a timely manner and trying to get it fixed. I think that student waited too late, and you just can't do that. So please, if you have issues, stay kind of up on this course. Be sure in the first week you get into the course, make sure you can access everything that you need to access and everything's working correctly, and hopefully we get off on the right foot on technology wise and get everything flowing pretty quickly. This is a typical lecture type course. I do kind of reuse my lecture videos from semester to semester sometimes, typically every other semester. So I'll likely be repeating some of these lecture videos from last semester. But I'll also be doing some update videos throughout the course. So I'll be having some live and then some kind of recycled. So anytime, again, if you need any help or need any questions asked, or if you want me to cover a certain topic in more detail, feel free to do so. Now, a little bit more about me right now. I'm an adjunct, which if you don't know what that means I'm a part-time professor. I kind of do this on the side. I have a full-time career. I'm an environmental scientist advisor with the Kentucky Department for Natural Resources. And what I do for a living is I actually work with farmers. I manage several statewide farming programs that assist farmers in doing their jobs, which is farming, to assist them so that they do not pollute the waters, the groundwater and surface water within the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So that's what I do on a full-time basis. So some of these lessons that we're going to go through, you're going to see a lot of my personalization on this with regards to my job. I kind of work in some real-world problems into this to let you see some of the things that we do in the real world that pertains to this. Specifically, when we start talking about water quality and erosion and sumping and different physical and chemical processes like those in the Earth's environment, we're going to have some real world experience here. So that's kind of a little bit about me and where I come from and what I do here. So hopefully you enjoyed this semester. I think my students enjoyed it pretty well last year. We had some pretty good grade distributions. Again, most of the students did pretty well. I had a couple that didn't put in the work and didn't do quite as well. So just please keep up to date on your assignments as we move through the semester, and let me know if there's anything that you need or if there's any problems. That's the biggest thing for me. Another thing that I want to throw out up front here before we get started in this course. So, you know, I talk about my philosophy of teaching in a lot of my introductory videos. And what I mean by that is, you know, I was in college once too. Probably most of you taking this course are going to be traditional college-age students. We might have a few non-traditional students in the class. But most of you are going to be in that younger generation. And as you go through college, I'll give you a little hint on some of these things. So one is, I was in college once too. I'm an old guy now, but I used to be in college. And there's a lot of courses that I took that I don't remember one thing that we studied in there. If you don't use it over your career, you're going to forget a lot of it. So my objective in this course, I'm not one of those people that just thinks what I do is the be-all, end-all of everything, and you're going to remember every single thing. What I want you to do is be able to develop, first of all, good study habits, so you do make good grades in this course. You do at least learn the information right now, and you understand it. But more importantly is how to learn that information and how to seek out factual information and problem solve going forward in your life. That's going to be your biggest takeaway from a course like this. Yes, you're going to learn some stuff you didn't know before. It's pretty cool if you're into this kind of stuff. And some people might decide they like this enough to go to another university. You can't do it through our college system because we don't offer it as a major, but you might go on to another school and major in this later on, and that's great. But I want you to be able to learn how to problem solve and how to get accurate information. Because as I've gotten older, and this sort of coincides with the whole technology thing. You know, when I was young, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any of the technology that most of you probably can't imagine living without right now. As that's gotten greater, you know, my generation always thought, wow, when we get all this technology, people are going to be so much smarter because they have all this information right at their fingertips. Not so much. We live in a world today where people take sides, mostly politically. They kind of march to that side. They do what they're told. They believe what that side tells them to believe, and that's how they live their lives. They seek out information that fits their narrative. And I'm bringing this up not because I want to talk about like politics and things, but when we talk about this course, we're going to be talking a lot about science stuff that sometimes gets a lot of press right now in a negative way. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. We're going to talk about climate change. You know, I see people all the time come to me as a scientist and say, hey, I don't really believe in climate change. Sometimes I say it, sometimes I think it, depending on the situation, but climate change, I don't really care if you believe in it or not because it's a fact. It's a scientific, observable fact. So it's not Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. We'll talk about some of the facts and data that back that up in this course, toward the end of the course. But it's those kind of things that we're getting into now, and your generation especially. I bring that up because your generation is going to have to navigate this a lot. For all the knowledge at our fingertips of technology, there's an equal amount of disinformation out there. So what I want you to get from this course is I'm not going to try to tell you how to think politically or otherwise. I'm going to give you the tools so that you can go out and you can intelligently find information that is factual, and then you can make your own decision on things. So that's what I hope that you get from a course like this when we talk about these sometimes sensitive topics. And it's really, to be unfortunate that I even have to mention that and bring that kind of discussion in here, but that's the world we live in today. It's very easy to get caught up on some of this junk, and it is just that. It's junk out there because some entity or some person wants you to believe a certain way because it fits their agenda. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in today. So as we go through this course, we're going to be talking about some of these kind of hot button topics. If you're from Eastern Kentucky, we're going to talk about coal mining and its effects on the environment and what it does when we first take it out of the ground and then we burn it. So we're going to talk about the facts of that. Whether you agree or disagree with it or not, that's perfectly fine. I'll ask you your opinion, and I will never grade anybody on their opinion. You can say 100% you support coal mining and you support burning of fossil fuels. I'm not going to grade you based on what your stance is on that. What I'm going to grade you on is your reasoning and ability to express yourself scientifically. So that's kind of my philosophy on how I teach my courses. So I've already gone a little bit over what I wanted to do. So one other thing I do want to mention, looking at my notes here before I get off here. So one thing I ask you to do in the syllabus, I ask you to download Google Earth. Now, if you had my geography courses, you did this already. I suggest you download Google Earth for your PC, your personal laptop, if you have a laptop or a personal computer or desktop. If you actually download that, you're going to have a lot more tools, and it's a lot more intuitive to use. And all of my lecture videos, my instructional videos on that will be on that downloaded version, not one on your cell phone. So if you have one on your cell phone, it's going to look a little bit different than what I'm showing you on the screen. Now, having said that, I had my students download that in this course last semester with full intentions on using that, and I really didn't end up using it a lot, but this semester I do intend on using it a little bit more. I have been asked by my superiors to include a little bit more discussion based where you all interact a little better online instead of just doing assignments. So I'm going to try that out. We're going to have some group discussions. So I think what I'm going to do is try to incorporate that Google Earth into that. Maybe find a place on the Earth's surface that's having an environmental issue that we might be talking about something similar and asking you to discuss. So I'm not going to grade you on the discussion itself, but I am going to include somehow, I'm going to work it into probably our homework assignments if you participate in that or not. So I encourage everybody to participate in those. Again, I don't know exactly how it's going to look yet. I'm going to go on here this week before classes start and kind of figure that out. And then we can talk about it as the semester goes. You can tell me if you like it or don't, or if you have any better suggestions that I can do something a little bit better. I'm an open book when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's it for the intro video. I will be making announcements throughout the semester, some kind of reminders, some update videos. And again, if there's anything that you need, communication is the key with me. Let me know if you need help, you're going to miss assignments, or whatever the case, and we'll work through it. Thanks, and I'll talk to all of you all soon.